Hello everyone and welcome to the Dyslexia Life Hacks Show. I'm your host Matthew Head, and in this episode I'm talking about the Dyslexia Show 2023 with its founder Arron Smith. This is a live event to spread awareness for dyslexia. It happens on the 24th to 25th of March 2023 in the NEC at Birmingham. It's got stands as well as a great list of speakers split into education, parents, workplace and individual. There's a keynote theatre and an innovation theatre, where I'll be hosting as well as speaking at the event. This is Arron's return onto this podcast, and if you want to hear his backstory as well as setting up the Dyslexia Show, head over to episode 17. I'll link that in the show notes, along with links to the Dyslexia Show, which you can find at dyslexialifehacks.com/podcast. Welcome back on the show, Arron.
Thank you very much, Matt. Or Matthew. Which one do you prefer, actually?
You asked me this before.
I did. I couldn't remember. The problem is,
I don't mind.
You don't mind. The problem is, it's written there. The benefit of using the platform we're using, because we'll be like the BBC and not say the platform name, but it says your name at the bottom of it, and that's what I'm reading. Well, I'm decoding as we try to do that. So yeah.
Yes. Well, I always introduce myself as Matthew, but most people default back to Matt at some point. So you'll find that Matt Head appears quite a lot.
Yeah.
It's becoming odd referring to myself as Matt on social media after a while. But yes, you actually improved your name from last time because you had your Twitter handle as there before, and that was getting me completely messed up.
Oh, yeah. Just put it out there at Arron Dyslexia.
Yeah. Head over there.
Yeah. And Arron is spelled ARRAN of course, because everyone spells it the lazy way with AARON. Anyone that's called that, I do apologise, but it is the first name of the baby book. It is the lazy name.
Right. Got to make sure we get your Arrons correct then.
That's correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, what I thought we kick off really with the show is not just discussing how we pronounce everybody's names, but sort of last year's show. Now, how did it go? Really, was it what you expected? Because it had quite a tricky.
Tricky. Should we give a little backstory to that?
Yeah, quick synopsis.
Quick synopsis. So Dyslexia Show came up with the idea in the early 2000s. Had an idea, had a plan, didn't work. Then 2019 was sitting in a pub in North Wales with a load of speakers that actually came to the show, and also our very first sponsor, which is Dyslexia Box, which is also the sponsor of this podcast.
It is.
That's the thing. So Dyslexia Box were with me, and they went, "We want to help you do this show." I went, "Okay," and I was like, "Let's have a level up." So Dyslexia Show was founded in 2019 to run in 2020, the weekend of lockdown 1. So it never happened. It was postponed 2 weeks before the event, and it was very hard for someone with neurodiversity to actually process this thing that you've been working on and off for so many weeks, so many months, building up to. And we had like nearly 3,000 people registered to attend, and that was like, it was actually, the feedback prior to that was unbelievable. The NEC where we have the show were ecstatic, the speakers were ecstatic, the exhibitors were ecstatic, and it kind of then went to this pandemic. We then had a bit of a virtual event, and then we then delivered the event last year at the NEC, so last March. And I think it's a bit of a whirlwind. I remember the things I remember were driving in when we took over tenancy of the hall. So when you take on a building like the NEC, they call it a tenancy. So kind of like you're renting that space for that time. So we were driving. Now we were lucky enough. We got in a little bit earlier, so I could watch the lorries. So my stand building company that we use, we watched their 5 lorries. We drove behind them as they drove into the hall, and it's like literally we had this little video, this convoy video of these lorries turning up, which was just brilliant. It was, and we got into the hall, and basically you are in this room, and all that was in there was the catering unit had been built. So where they were going to put the food, right? And cables, cables were pulled up from the floor. Black floor, empty hall, 4,500 square feet of space. Now we weren't filling all that, and it was empty. No. And basically, literally, people were just dropping stuff. People were dropping stuff in there. I'd taken my car. I was lucky enough because I took my car all the way down to the where the org's office was. So I could unload all my equipment and put it into my office. And I remember that really quite nicely. And I was like, there are me steel toe caps with me pink high vis that says Dyslexia Show on the back. Loved it. I did. And like, there we were, me and the AV guy who's ironically phoning me while we're on this podcast. But hey, I've told him I'll call him back afterwards. We were dealing with checking out all the network cables, and we were ready to go. And like literally went back, had a nice meal, and then literally then got up at 5:15 the following morning. So this was the Thursday morning, and at 5 to 6 the door opened at the back of the hall, and I walked in, and so did all the stand builders, and literally within about 3 hours the hall went from a black hall to a very pink hall.
Yes.
It did. And these stands started to be built, and I think then people started to arrive, so that my team started to arrive. And the thing I remember about that day is walking outside into the main walkway. So it's in Hall 8 at the NEC, and watching the sign go up. And that's when I was then in happy tears. That was the thing, was like, okay, we've made it. Gmail, I'm running the Dyslexia Show. And still now, there's some people have done videos of it, and I'm still now going, whoa, that was the show I created. Yeah. And like we had 2,500 delegates over the 2 days. We had 60 speakers over the 2 days. 19 sponsors, 48 exhibitors, and one semi full-time member of staff, and six consultants and contractors that came and helped me, plus an amazing array of contractors to run it from, and like people like Europa, who's our stand builder, Tamron Event Services, who's our sales and operations. So Tammy and Andy are amazing. They're doing this year's show with me. You've then got Digital Age Events, who did all the AV. These are like, you can't run an event without people, and then we use on our scan our reg company that we used last year as well, and that's it. And you learn so much. It was that thing, and that thing. And I remember there, I got to cut the ribbon with Matt Hancock, which was quite good. That was it was quite an experience. I like everyone. I have no issue with Matt. I get on with him quite well. And it's, for me, it was like, people are like, what? Why have you asked him to come? I haven't asked him to come. He wanted to come. He's got a very positive attitude around dyslexia. I'm going to support that positive attitude because it's good. It's good publicity for all of us. It's like, spread more awareness about dyslexia, because that is what the show is. It's the UK's national exhibition dedicated to dyslexia and neurodiversity, and let's spread awareness about dyslexia, and that's what it's all about.
Yes. One thing I am curious, this will be the geeky engineer mind. With everything laid out in that hall, is that the first time you'd seen what the show would look like outside of a virtual system? Is there like a place where they knock up a small stand that you can go, oh yeah, I like looking at?
So the reason why I run an event is because I've been going to exhibitions since I was 17.
Okay.
So
a career of it.
So basically, when I was 17, I was a volunteer for the British Dyslexia Association, and I went to education show on the Saturday at the NEC, and I think then they had a pink carpet as well. So I saw what a show was like, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere. I really enjoyed the concept behind it, and I was nosy. I wanted to know, okay, well, what's at that door? Why are you standing there? Why do you wear a red jacket, and why does he wear a black jacket? And because you both got the same walkie-talkie, are you different security? And that's it. And this is the thing. It's like, I was interested. So I've been to so many shows around education. So Education Show, BET, Special Needs London. I went to Education Innovation, Autism Show. I've been to lots of events, and I've been Nathan Live and stuff like that. So these are kind of big events that I've been involved in. I've been in either as a trustee of the BDA when I was a trustee first time, or a member of staff when I was at the BDA. And that actually kind of where some of this started, because actually my stand builder, so Europa International, they built the stands for the British Dyslexia International Conference. So that's how I know. So that's how I knew Steve Murphy, who's the managing director of it, and that's how we got involved. He did, and that's why I was like, well, if I'm going to build any show, I'm going to ask him to do it, because he's going to do everything from power, electrics, furniture, carpet. He's going to do the whole lot. So might as well get someone that you trust to do it. And so you don't see what it looks like. I could vision it because of my dyslexia. I could see it.
Yeah.
But I kind of did look a bit different, because the one thing you forget is, like, I don't know if you remember, when you walked into the main part, actually the first bit is actually quite low. The ceiling is quite low, and then you walk in and it's massively high.
Yes.
And that was the bit that that put me off. It was like, that was the hardest bit. But no, I kind of I kind of knew what it was going to look like, because I know what shell scheme looks like. I know how it all works. So for me, I knew what it was going to look like. I don't know how anyone else thought about it. There were things that were different, things that looked a bit like, okay, that's fine. And there was so many things you learned. So many things you learned. And that's why we're going into year 2 now. We should be going into year 4.
Yes.
And we're going into year 2. And it's like, well, okay, but year 2, today we're recording it 6 weeks out. We're recording this podcast 6 weeks out from the show, and I'm excited. I like 6 weeks out from last year's show, I was nervous. I was getting quite stressed, and where I'm not too stressed. And I think the thing what it is you have to have confidence in who you have around you. And I think that's the thing is like I cannot do everything myself, and that's the problem. Was when I was last year, I was doing everything myself.
Yes.
And where this time I've got the right people in to do things to help actually deliver an event for the dyslexia community. When we think about it, there's 6.9 million people in the UK with dyslexia. So we've got a lot of people we can service and support. And that's the whole point of the show.
Yes. So in your opinion from last year's show, before we get into 2023, a couple of things. What do you believe sort of went well with last year's show? And it seemed like a roaring success, having gone to it and spoken at it and spent the whole 2 days at it.
I think the thing what was the success was the comments. The positive comments from exhibitors and delegates. The comments we got were things like so you get the negative comment, which is not a lot from an exhibitor, not a lot of people, which is always the hardest thing for a first event. So exhibitors want lots of people because then they're busy, so more people can buy something, because that's the whole point of going to a trade show or an exhibition.
Yes.
So, but the one thing they said is even though we didn't have a lot of people, we had the right people. So that's it. So that's a positive. So that to me is a big positive, because that to me shows that what we were doing pre-show, the marketing, the communication, the awareness, we were getting the right people there to make the right decision for the right reason. I think the second thing is seeing people there. I think having people turn up, people congratulate me, people happy. I think the thing that I didn't realize, because I didn't know this, because I was actually in the office, I closed the show on the Tannoy system. Yes. And like the first night I got it wrong, but the second night I got it right. And Steve Murphy, the stand builder, he came in and said, it's the first time I've been to a show that I've heard people cheer at the end of an event and applaud how well you've done. So that's the thing. And this is the thing, that the community that we live in, the community that we work in, if we get it right, and that's the thing that I'm not to be big-headed, I try and understand everyone that comes to the show. If I don't understand them, how do I best service them as an event director? How do I ensure that, okay, I know this product will work really well. Okay, if we put you there and we kind of say, well, actually, why don't you do this, because that will work with that audience better, and that's a bigger audience for you because your product is that kind of price or that kind of service. And it's like, well, let's support you. And that's the whole thing, you see. That is what we want to do. And that's where we are. And that's kind of like, that's for me, it's like, it's a very beneficial concept. So that, things like that went well. Like I think like having all the speakers there, I think the thing, like you would have saw the hospitality we had for speakers. Right now, we like I'm a big fan like of making sure that if we're not paying people to be there, we're ensuring, but we're feeding them and making sure they're happy and that's thing, and that's what we did, and that's the whole point. It's like we want to be able to. People don't realize this. It's like when I've had one negative on this year is someone wanted to speak, and I actually had it last year as well. Actually, someone wanted to speak, and they wanted to charge me a lot of money to speak, and I went, I don't pay speakers, and they said, but that's my business. I went, that's fine, okay. Do you want to go and charge people? You charge people. But a parent of a dyslexic child, right, that needs support shouldn't pay more than £10 or £12 to listen to a speaker. And that's the whole point of it, is that we want to kind of give that concept there that we have to kind of cover our costs. It's not about, we're not a huge, massive conglomerate. We're not about making every profit out of anyone. We're about making sure that we can run an event. Yeah, we can survive that event, and we can actually give the content to the people, and that's the thing. And I think that's the thing that we had, is that the speakers got what they wanted. We got them speakers. You all had an amazing time. We all got you. You had some really good feedback. I think that was really good. I think interviewing the charities that I did, I thought that went really well. I went, oh, I had 30 minutes and actually had 45 because I misread my own timetable. But hey ho, that was my fault. I think the thing that really annoyed me was that my walkie-talkies, my radios didn't work that I bought. No. So they've been donated to the local archaeology team because they can use them because I don't need them anymore. Well, they've got they have a long tunnel here in Leicester, which they walk down. It's the longest single track tunnel that used to have a train line in Europe or something, or it was Victorian train track. It's called Glenfield Tunnel, and you can walk down it. You can do, and they have to have a radio for health and safety. And I was like, well, they'll work better for you because there's no interference. So that was my only thing, that I didn't have my 27 walkie-talkies and my 15 clipboards.
Have they got them donated with Dyslexia Show stickers?
No, I didn't know. I did think about that. Like proper branded up. No. I know that no one can see me, but I am wearing a branded T-shirt that does say Dyslexia Show
and your name on it.
I know it's got my name on it. Yeah, and also it's got my Twitter handle on as well on the back. So unfortunately, I like Twitter. And I was very worried last year if it wasn't going to be around, but it is still around, so it's good.
Yes, one of the things I really enjoyed about it, having really taken a big step into the dyslexia world around 2020, 2021, was it felt like lots of people, as I've discovered during my journey with it, that it's all quite close-knit and everybody kind of is only sort of 1 degree of separation from somebody else. And
it's very much a community.
Very much so.
And that's the thing why, like the people I employed to help with marketing use the word join the community. That's the whole point of it. Is the show is all about a community, and that kind of, it sits really nicely with my feelings. Like because it is a community, and the thing what it is that I remember as a young lad when I found out I was dyslexic, I felt I was alone. I didn't realize there was all these people, and yeah, like Matt, you mean the same thing. And this is the point, you see, that actually if we can go and say, if a parent can bring a young person to an event, that's a national event at a national exhibition centre, and go, you know, that founder over there, he's dyslexic. That speaker over there is dyslexic. And look at what they're doing.
Yes.
And this is the thing, you see, it's like we've got our 4 kind of pillars of meet, be inspired, understand, and connect. And that kind of, it actually, it's quite funny. I wrote percentage of this website, and then I got two marketing people went away and just did it. And being dyslexic, I didn't read it back. I just went, is it spelt right? They went, yes. I went, that's fine. I'm just going to leave it. And I was going through it the other day looking for something. I went, oh, I didn't realize I'd done that. I'm going to use that. I like that. It's my show. That's the thing. So that's the thing. But no, it is. It is a community, and it is that thing. So I think you are right so much that was the thing. And I think that that's the whole point of it. It was.
Yeah, it was really interesting and really good fun, just bumping a bit. Particularly by that point, I'd interviewed a significant amount of some of the speakers on this podcast. It's like, hey, this is what you look like in real life. And the comment was, you look taller than in real life than you do on a Zoom screen.
Well, you do. You are taller, aren't you? Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Actually, I remember that. You are quite tall. That's
yes. Yeah, I remember Stuart from Claro grabbing me. He's like, "You're a lot taller than I imagined." And obviously, Darren Clark had lots of fun with that.
So yeah. Well, it's not Stuart from Claro anymore. Remember, it's Stuart from Text Help now.
Oh, of course, it's Text Help now, isn't it? Yes.
Text Help now.
Yes.
Yeah, right,
yes. Yeah, got to get that right.
Okay, right. Yes.
So, and obviously, there would have been some bits that didn't go so well. So, what did you think from last year's show that didn't go so well, and things you're kind of looking to improve?
I think the hardest thing for us was how. So the hardest thing was the crossover of the 2 years. So the hardest thing is that we had a figure of people that have registered for 2020 and that figure moved with us.
Yeah,
so that figure was a decent number.
Yeah.
And then we kind of then added a lot more to it. So our figure in front of us was actually nearly 6,000 people registered.
Wow.
So we know there was only 2,500 people attend. Now we know in the whole of the events industry, you get a percentage of drop off because it's a free event. We know that it's always going to happen, but not that much, and definitely not that much in the dyslexia world. But you have to then put into conversation. We'd just come out of COVID. We'd removed a lot of restrictions. There was still an unease. I think that was a big learning curve for us. So I made a very hard decision at the beginning of this year, and I changed my registration company. Now, I'm a very loyal person. Now, there's things behind that I'm not going to talk about because it's not fair. But we moved to another provider, and actually a provider that is very new in the space, as in the sense that they built it from scratch for our show. So the registration system was built by NetReady. NetReady they're an IT development company, but the one lucky thing is that their managing director was with me all for the whole show, mainly because we are both in scouting, and I had to run around a field, build a kitchen for him. So I went, well, you're coming to run around a show and follow me around and mend stuff when I need you to mend stuff, and that's what he did. Oh, and also, by the way, you're selling exhibition space. Selling seminars for me as well. And he then learned very quickly that it was actually the way it was built before wasn't very good. So he kind of had built a new platform by the end of day one anyway. So that's what we learned. We learned that these things, you have to look at things and go, okay, is this going to work? And that thing is like I'm very loyal, and I'm very kind of. There's a word for it, that I'm very particular about what I use and what I do. I'm very like, if I believe in something, I will tell you I believe in it. If I don't believe in it, I don't very talk about it unless someone has really upset me or really annoyed me. And that's thing. So that's what you learn. So things like that. And I think, it's a new business. It's going to have financial issues. It's going to have financial difficulties. We're going to get through them. It was touch and go. We got there. And we are now into the new year. We're doing okay. We are already planning 2024. We're already planning 2025.
Okay.
Because if you work in events, like we know that we were just talking off the podcast about how much within your outside of this podcast you work and how far ahead are you working. It's the same concept in events. 14 months is not out of the realms. So we are already negotiating for 2024 dates. So we know the dates. I'm not going to say them because I'm not allowed to yet because I haven't signed a contract. But but I have got the dates in my diary. I know when they are, and it's very hard. That things like that are actually people don't realize actually that's the thing, because you've got to go the same weekend. Well, actually next year the same weekend is the week that everyone breaks up for school, because Easter's the end of the year, end of the 31st of March.
Ah, okay.
So you've got to think about that, because we're in an audience. We've got to kind of support that audience, because we're not just an education event. We're not just a parent event. We're not just a workplace event. We are, or an individual event. We are all of them. And these are the things you've got to think about. It's like, it's not putting an event on is not an easy process.
No.
But in one sense, it can be really good fun. It's like when you have conversations like this about the show, and you kind of look at it from hindsight and you go, well, actually, that's pretty good. And that's the thing. I think that's the thing. We are we're moving in that right direction and we're growing and we're kind of going, you know what, actually, let's have some fun and let's support people and that's the thing. And like that thing, there's so many things going on at the show this year.
Yeah, there is. Yes. Yeah, it does. Having looked at the website and obviously being close to it, it's surprising me how much more is added. So 2000 last year's show, 2022, that's what I'm trying to say. So last year's show, 2022, gets packed up in a lorry, driven away. Now, between then and now, obviously you are working ahead of yourself because you have to for next year's show.
Yeah.
But you must have sat in a washout meeting within a few days.
Probably in a few months, actually, because basically like the downside is, and it's not a downside, no, that's not the right word. I'm a dyslexic entrepreneur. I own a number of other companies on top of the show, right? Yes. Because for me, the show is a passion. The show needs to survive. It needs to grow, and it needs to go 3 years. It's a new business in one sense. And yes, it doesn't actually pay me anything in one sense. Because really, truthfully, but because we want it to work, and that's all it's about. So, of course, you've got contractors and they all, theoretically, their contract finishes. So until their contract restarts again, they don't actually start doing that. Now, of course, they will do little bits and they'll kind of go, well, we need to do this, Arron, and that's the thing. So that's what happens. So, yeah, we had them wash up, we had them conversations. And we had, and the sad thing was that one of our members of staff had to leave because of personal reasons. So because she left, that kind of changed the dynamic. And that meant that then I had to really think. And the other side of it is that with life is life, and we have to kind of go where we need to go. So we were ready. We weren't 100% ready for this year at the time I wanted to be, but when we got going very quickly, and we got things done. And actually, we got to the point where we are today, where we are in a very good position. I like I said, 6 weeks out, I was very stressed. I'm 6 weeks out. I'm quietly confident. I'm quite happy. I want to be more. I want to do more. There's so much more we could do within the next 6 weeks. So, and even if when I know, Matt, you're going to try and get this podcast out as quick as possible. So whenever you're listening to this, do check out the website. If you haven't register, right? Because there's still going to be stuff there. And even if you're an exhibitor, don't just ask the question. If you don't ask, you don't get. Yeah. Right. Because we are, like, as of today, we are 95% full on exhibition space.
Yeah. So
now that to me, that helps me there. We are 95% full on exhibition space. So by the time we get
really good,
and that's what I want to be. We have, and be honest, we have made the show. We made the show very big, but we haven't shrunk it down a little bit to make that work, and that's fine by me. And that's the thing. But it's all these things you have to do behind the scenes. So you had a wash-up meeting. We had them conversations, and we kind of started doing so. Even the day after that, the one thing that didn't work last year, you asked me what didn't work last year, and that was the concept of workplace. So workplace for me is an area that Dyslexia Box is very much involved in, and that's why they're the sponsors for this year's show. Now, and to me, workplace is a logical thing to do. It's a logical thing to have an additional thing on there, and that's what we did. We had education, parents, workplace, and we've added individual from feedback as well. But we made Workplace this year a one-day event. So Workplace is the Friday. Yes. And it is a one-day event, and it is a paid-for event. So you have to pay for it to get in, but you get everything. So you basically get your 5 sessions included. So you don't pay any extra. Where education, parents, and individual, you're free to register. You can go and look at the exhibition space. If you want to go to a seminar, you pay for it. Workplace, we charge you that premium, because actually we want to give you that support. We want to kind of get you in there, and actually, it's more of an event for you to be there. So, and that's the thing. And we're going to add benefits to that over time. It's a very thing. So I actually at 5:00. No, I think it was 8:30 the following morning. I was writing that on my phone. And I also wrote individual as well, because that was the feedback we got. We'd already had that feedback on social media. We'd already had that feedback that actually we weren't doing enough for that individual dyslexic. And that's what we've done this year. And that's, I think, like we can talk about this, because by the time the podcast goes out, it will be out. And because you, Matt, are going to be the compere of the Innovation Theatre. I hope you know this. I hope you know this. That's right, yeah.
I'm aware.
That's good. So the innovation theatre was something that was very new to me. What it was is I felt that I didn't want to have. I wanted to have different things. So you have your CPD, your continuing professional development for education, for parents, for individuals, and for workplace that are paid for. That you pay that, you get your certificate once you a couple of weeks afterwards, well, a couple of months afterwards, to be honest, because of the way that things work. Not me, that's external concepts.
Okay.
And the thing what it is that we want to give you high quality speakers, and that money allows us to pay for their food, to pay for their hotel, pay for their travel, and that's why education is £20, parents is £10, individuals £20 plus VAT. But if you buy 4, you get a discount. So that's the kind of concept. So you buy 4 sessions, and that's why we did. You know what? Let's do workplace, one price. You get your 5 sessions, but you can then swap it for another session. So if you want to go to a parent one, you can do. If you want to go to an education, you can do if you're in workplace, but you've got that dedicated area. But then we have the innovation theatre, which you can also swap out and go to, but anyone can stand around it, anyone can watch it, anyone can look at it, and it's right next to the workplace theatre. It's behind Dyslexia Box, and it's kind of that what we call a feature for the show with inspiring content. And I think, Matt, you're speaking on the second day, aren't you?
I am indeed, yes.
And we've got people. We know we've got people talking about access to work. We've got Natalie. You've got Armel, who you spoke to in a podcast. She's coming, and it's like, for me, it's an amazing array of speakers that are up and coming, that are inspiring, and they're innovating in the dyslexia space. And that's how I look at it, and that's why we created it. And that's thing, and it's the same with our other 2 on the floor features. And that's, so we've got the classroom, which is very new for this year. It's something that I've wanted to do for a long time, and I kind of had this plan. The idea was the room is set up like a classroom, and you have so basically it's an old-fashioned concept. It has a grey carpet. And if you think of a chair, you think of that chair where the table used to come down on the chair. Yeah, so that's how it's set up. And basically set up in rows. So it's set up like an old-fashioned classroom. And the thing is the idea is that
PTSD from that, I think.
Well, it might do, but the point is, but with the pink carpet round, it should be fine. Mike, as Matt Gower, who's our compere in the keynote, it's going to be really complicated. We've got to go, right, which Matt are we talking about? Which compere Matt are we talking about? Yeah. So Matt in the keynote kept saying, Arron's epileptic carpet. I was like, I don't know if we could say that, but I was wearing a shirt to try and counteract it. So I don't know if we can say that. So I apologize. It was just a bit like, but the thing about it is that classroom is designed for those companies, them schools, to kind of just actually show education professionals and parents and young people that this is what we do, this is why we do it, and this is how we can support you. And that's the whole point of it. That was the whole point of the classroom. And then we had something last year called the demo zone, which we've called the workshop zone, and that was feedback from the sponsor. So from Moon Hall School, they sponsor the workshop, and we've got round tables, we've got more tables. It's more of an actual hands-on concept, and that's what we wanted to do. And we've got some amazing talks in there again. But the thing what it is that they're all free concepts. So what you have is, the reason we've done that is because there's only X number of seats in seminar theatres.
Yes.
Right. And people don't realize seats cost me money. I have to pay for that seat to hire that seat.
Yes.
I have to build that space. I have to build the AV team. There's a fine line between what you can do and why you have to do it, and that's why things do cost money. But the point of it is that we can then deliver an amazing opportunity and an amazing experience for someone, and we can do them extra areas, and that's why I got it. And of course, we have the keynote, which we had last time. I'm going to have to say it though, Matt. I do apologise, but we have got another podcast sponsoring that one. So we have got the Invisible Gift sponsoring that. Yes, but it is that to me, multiple podcasts are very good, I think, because you've all got a different spin on things, and Andrew has as well. And I was on Andrew's podcast last week, so I'm doing the rounds as the actors would say when they're on their press tour. I'm on my press tour of Dyslexia Show of podcasts. And then I have to remember, have I said that before? Did I say that like 20 minutes ago? Or did I say that like 2 weeks ago to another podcast? That's the question. But no, the point is that we have the keynote, and we've got some amazing talks going on there, some amazing panel talks. And that's the thing, is that that's more of a panel conversation about from inspiring dyslexics to listen to them of what they feel about certain things. And it's a lot of it's a different atmosphere concept it is. And that's the whole point. And the show opens there, so people will walk up there to when the show opens and stuff like that. So it's not where last year it was in the center, it's now at the back. So it's a little bit so people have to walk through the show.
Yeah,
and that,
good thinking.
And that's it. So you got to walk past everyone before you can get to the set to get to it. And it's on the way to the toilet, which is always useful. and also catering is near the front of the hall rather than at the back, or rather than at the side, so it's closer in. So it's complete. So when you come on, Matt, it's completely different. You're actually quite lucky now, and of course, subject to change. Just to point that out, because I like anything like this could change. If we have to change stuff, because it could change tomorrow, because things could happen that would be brilliant, or we need to move stuff around. You're actually catering is behind you, so where you'll be presenting from, catering is Dyslexia Box. Then you've got catering, so you're not far away from coffee, so it's always good.
I'm going to be wired and stuffed full by the end of the day.
That's the thing. Well, but also you're just going to the speakers lounge anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that would be cool. Yeah, everybody walking past coffee and jitters and sitting down. That'd be great. Where did all these ideas come from? Like, I feel like you have a washout session and then you just bullet point them down. You mentioned putting one into your phone the morning after the show, but where did all the other stuff? What was the seed for like the innovation?
The thing is, the whole seed for the whole show comes back from my life as working in the field of dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
We've got four amazing. Well, the UK has 5 amazing charities.
Yes.
That work in dyslexia, from the British Dyslexia Association, Helen Arkell, Patos, Succeed with Dyslexia, Made by Dyslexia.
Mm-hmm.
Out of them 5, we've got 4 of them on the show. On top of that, we then also have NASON, which is an amazing charity supporting teachers and education around special needs. So we've got 5 charities, 5 CEOs on the stage. Now, all 5 of them, or all 6 of them, do some amazing work, and they have their own niches of what they do. Now,
yes,
I'm going to be biased in the one sense. I am vice chair of the British Dyslexia Association. I used to work for them, so I know what they do a lot. But I'm also very good at kind of sitting in that out space and going, you know what, I believe in dyslexia, I believe in what you're all doing, and you are all doing something to support someone.
Mm-hmm.
We then also have all these companies, because unfortunately, and it's unfortunate, but it's also fortunately, that dyslexia is not on the NHS. It's not a medical condition. It is an education difference or difficulty or strength. So we have to find ways to support it, and we actually have people that are dyslexic become innovative and find solutions to support them. And we have products and services from a book to a card game to a math resource to a reading ruler to a piece of technology to a text to speech to a dictation tool to I'm just trying to think, giving things out there to another book. Basically that kind of concept all over it. And that's the thing, is that's what we have to do. So having that, and having them charities and go, okay, how do you pull this together? So actually you are supporting all areas, because actually that event that charity does only supports education. And then that event only supports parents. And actually that kind of service only supports individuals, but not as good as it could do. And actually who's supporting workplace apart from that one course they're running or that one activity? And actually, so if I then go, well, you know what, actually I know the industry very well. I'm very, try not to be big-headed, but I've been in it a long time. Yeah. So let's bring it all together. And that's the thing, is that you take the feedback. It was all originally, the show was going to be for education and parents. That's what it was going to be for. And that was my biggest thing. Workplace came on because of Dyslexia Box and their feeling about it, which was brilliant. And I think, you know what, actually that's the best thing that ever happened. Individual came on because of the feedback.
Yes.
And this is the thing, and it's like, and you're always getting feedback. It's like I follow we have adverts on Facebook and we have things going on, and you follow the trends, and we are listening to them trends. We are listening to that conversation, and that will interact my decision for 2025, 2026. Because it's how you grow it. If you want to do so, you want something, let's try and make it happen. It's like we've had many people that would like me to like go to every county in the country, but I can't do that. That I can't do. I did have a plan once about Dyslexia Show on the move, but I don't think my exhibitors. I don't know how the exhibitors will feel about that one but hey, it's an idea in the future. But that's the thing. So it kind of literally sits in my brain, and I go, oh, let's do this. And I go, well, what about like the classroom is a prime example. The classroom was an idea I had in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
I also had it in 2021 when we were in the pandemic, and I also had it in 2022, and it never happened. Mainly because it was a hard thing to try and get right to fund it. It's because the thing with a feature, this is the thing. The feature has no income because we don't get it from, like, a seminar room has a bit of income from the delegates, but it has no income. So you've got to sponsor it in a way. So you've got to kind of then go, okay, you've got all your exhibitors, and that's how you have to do it. So you've got to find a way to do that, and that's the first side of it. Now we've done that with the classroom this year. It's not exactly how I wanted it, but then again, having amazing people on your team, and they go, well, actually, why doesn't it be this? And actually you go, right, that's it, you've got it, right, that's what it is. And the classroom changed. The classroom was one thing, the classroom is now a completely other thing from what it was. So in 12 months since I came up with that idea, that has changed, and it changed within the first 3 months, but that's how things develop, and that's how I pull it together. Right? It's kind of like I look at things, I listen to people, I read things, or I'm sorry, I listen to things because things get read back to me, and I go, right. I then go, okay, let's do this, and that's the importance of how you develop stuff. And if you don't listen to your audience and you don't listen to your exhibitors, you're not going to have a successful show.
No, definitely. It's a sort of iterative process, isn't it? And you've done the first iteration, now on iteration 2. Is there anything that's not at this year's show that was at last year's that you felt didn't work?
So we've renamed the demo zone to a workshop zone. So that was a big change because the demo zone didn't work how I wanted it to work. It worked okay, but it wasn't as good as I wanted to. Where the workshop is a different concept, and we've also changed the other thing where we had a parents' activity outside the hall, where parents could go into a room and listen to speakers. That were dedicated for parents and young people. We've moved that into the workshop. So that is actually on the show floor. So that kind of contains it. So we still have the room outside to it. We're amazing. The amazing thing is that all of our partners, so the 5 charities, they all have a session in the concourse suite that you can attend. It's an education CPD session, the same as it's only on the Friday. So they're available then. So that's an amazing additional bit of content for us on top of our timetable we've created. So it does help. It does. Yeah,
it's going to be super busy because that timetable is going to be pretty rammed.
The thing what it is, what you have my feeling is that if you've got 4 or 5 different people that's going to attend the show. You're going to have one person going to attend the show that just wants to look around. You're going to have one person that is like, you're going to have a parent that goes, I don't know where to start. And they're going to go, you know what? I want to listen to that person because that's a topic that I want to be interested in. And they'll look at the program around the 24th of February when the digital program comes out. And go, actually, I really want to listen to that person because that fits my criteria. The same with workplace. They're going to go, you know what? Actually, I don't need to do this one, but I want to do this one. I want to go and listen to that. And this is the concept that we have that will happen all the while. And that's the benefit of the show. Yes, there's a hell of a lot of content going on at the show. There is going to be, at any one time, 8 sessions, 9 sessions. So 9 opportunities to listen to something at any one time.
You're going to be spoiled for choice.
You are spoiled for choice, but the problem is also to get as much stuff in there that people want.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's the whole point of it is. And that's the whole thing. So it's going to be It's been good. We've done one other thing we've done. So I'll give you one other thing that I got told. I got told and it got commented a number of times. And it's an internal thing. I didn't give our AV team a lunch break last year. So basically, my AV manager, who I love him to bits, is an amazing guy, the managing director of Digital Age Events, and basically. His job is to float. His job is to deal with issues. But when he said to me, "I've had to now do 7 talks, or I've had to do 5." No, he had to do 5 talks because he had to send people off to have their lunch breaks, and he had to sit there in a room. He wasn't best impressed with me. So I've made sure that, like, I said to him, "Look, you have got a 45-minute lunch break. You'll need one person not to have a lunch break at that time. So logically, that won't be you." And it's fine. So he was like, "Yeah, that works." And this is the thing, you learn these things, and that's it. And that also come out because we had the problem last year because of COVID. So we weren't allowed to have all the sessions run at the same time, because that was some of the rules that the venue still had because of COVID, that we weren't allowed to have everyone coming in and out of building rooms at the same time. And there also had to be a certain amount of time for cleaning, and we had to clean microphones and stuff. So there's still an element of COVID that we had to deal with, which actually it's not called COVID in the risk assessment. It's called community diseases, which has to be I think that's what it's called. I don't. Yeah. I have an operations manager that deals with things like this.
I have a person for that.
I have a person for that. I have an amazing person for that.
Brilliant.
Let's put it out there. She's like. There is a number of people. There's loads of people on the show, but without Tammy and Andy. Tammy's our ops manager, Andy's our sales manager, and they work very close together. They are husband and wife, so of course they work close together. But and that's Tamara Event Services, which I cannot. The show wouldn't happen without them. And that's it. You've got Paula, who's my support worker, who keeps me in check, who manages everything for me, and also takes on that responsibility of managing that continuing professional development timetable. So she actually pulls that together and has to deal with all the speakers, and deals with hotels and stuff like that, and catering. You've got Matt and Sean who deal with marketing, right? And then of course you've got Ben at Dyslexia Box, and of course my wife Lucy, who just has to deal with me when I'm having a mega meltdown, or literally I'm still in the office at 9 o'clock and she says, "Are you coming in the house to eat today?" Or has to shout at the Alexa to say, "Dinner's ready," and that kind of thing.
Yes, of course. And I imagine she has to I don't know how you feel with running a business in a big show like this, but the highs and lows of it, where some days must feel awesome, and other days it feels like you've been
we're doing a podcast today, and I'm on a high because I've had a good day. Yesterday was a horrible day for me as someone with neurodiversity. I know I have tendencies of ADHD and ASD, and they are sometimes really challenging. They are. But it was actually really interesting. We have Natalie, and I can't remember Natalie's last name. It's Natalie Brooks. Thank you. I can't remember her last name. So Natalie Brooks from Adult in Dyslexia, who came and spoke at the show last year, and she's speaking again this year at the show and we've put her on our own stage. That's the thing. She's speaking in the individual stage, in the individual timetable, which is a really amazing concept, because she's a really inspiring speaker for individuals of what she's done and how she's doing stuff and how she can support adults. But she did a lot of TikToks about masking after the show, and I was absolutely gobsmacked of actually how much I mask my disability or my differences. Now, I'm very much open that I call dyslexia a disability, because it under the Equality Act, it's a disability, and that's how I can get my support, and I can actually live in this world and feed into society. But my wife is the person that sees everything. Yes, and we've. The thing that we're not going to talk about is something personal to me and Lucy, but we have not had the best 12 months of our lives at all. And that to me that feeds into it, and it feeds into a lot of things about the show, because I had to take the whole of December off because of a personal issue. Now, if you follow me on social media, you can find out why, and it's not going to be a thing. And it's not for this podcast because we don't want to lower the tone too much in this thing. But the point about it is that we have to deal with life. Yeah. And when you are the driving force for business, that it affects it. Yeah. But like I'm quite happy. I'm trying not to be overconfident. We could still I could get the stand bill tomorrow and it could be 300% more than I think it's going to be. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping it's 20% less than I think it's going to be, or even 50% less than I want it to be. If Steve's listening to this podcast, that's it. But yeah, he'll get it. Let's see. But this is the thing. It's you working in a community that works together, and you just keep moving forward, and you do it for the reason being is, and this is the biggest thing, is what I have to keep reminding myself, and not even reminding myself, but it's like, I don't read automatically, right? And there is 6.9 million people in the UK that have some severity of dyslexia. So, we still have 50% of our prison population have a literacy difficulty. We have an education system, be honest, that doesn't support dyslexic people properly. It has its brilliant things. It has its amazing teachers, but it is not designed to support someone with neurodiversity. From an exam, like if we put it in context, how many of us in our working lives all come together on one day and do an exam that we've learned, that we've trained for the last 12 months? And I'm not just saying like one company, it's like hundreds of companies or thousands of companies doing that. It's not heard of. And that to me is kind of a thing. Lorraine Peterson, who unfortunately can't be at the show this year, she was at the show last year, has a saying: we have a 21st century intake to a 19th century education system. And this is why we do it. We do it because parents need that support. Educators want to support their children. Individuals that have been failed by the system need to understand how they can support themselves, and the workplace needs to follow the law. And that is the simple fact. That's right. And actually, but also we can talk about you, Matt, and your talent that you've told me about earlier, of what you've changed in your own personal working life. That is because the workplace is changing. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like it's not right. Some things are not right and some things are right. And that thing is that actually someone with neurodiversity has a talent. They have an expertise and they can use that strength. And that's one thing. We have Dr. Helen Taylor, who's speaking at the show, and her research around the strengths of dyslexia and about the ecologicalness of dyslexia and that evolution of dyslexia of life actually is so interesting and so true. We all have strengths and weaknesses, and dyslexia is one of them. Yeah. Dyslexia can be a strength. That's the thing, and that it allows me to do what I do. And that's why we have a show for it, because actually we need to praise them people. We need to show them individuals that they're not alone. We show them young people they're not alone. Like, we know there's over 150 young people coming on the Saturday, which is brilliant. That's a lot more than last year. Yeah. And I'm very happy to have them there because I want to support them. I want them to see what's going on. Yeah, definitely. That's the thing. Yeah. And that's the thing. So
yeah. So in terms of your personal growth as the show curator between the two shows, how do you feel? What have you grown as the show curator?
I've learned to give people jobs to a point.
Yes.
Giving up things is hard. Right?
I can imagine.
I'll prime example. So Matt, who is our compere, is also our web designer and our graphic designer. And I have a lot of time for Matt. Me and Matt work really close together on a number of projects. Oh, yeah. And he does the website for me. And Andy, who's our sales manager, did a bit of marketing support at the beginning with the website stuff, like getting things going. Now, Andy, I wrote the original website and Andy rewrote a lot of it. Now, that is very hard for me. So someone rewriting my work, completely rewriting it to a point where it was in proper language is quite hard. Now, changing language and changing words so it sounds right is fine by me. And I always remember when I worked at the British Dyslexia Show, I had an amazing support worker, and nothing wrong with with Laura, who I worked with. Apart from I went to this meeting, and it was for an international conference. Now I was doing exhibition sales and exhibition work, and I kind of had a plan of what was going on to try and give them an update. So I got the document out. Now I'd memorized the document.
Yes.
And so I knew the document off by heart, and I started going through, and I went, and of course and I stopped and went, where's my red hot leads? Because I kind of put people in red hot and hot leads and cold leads, so I knew what was going on, so people could say, I've actually got this. And it was all written in posh English, because she had an English degree. I love it a bit. She's actually my daughter's godmother. Right. So this is the thing. So nothing against her, but that was the hardest thing, because actually I memorized stuff. And this was the thing when we had the conversation about it, and I said to Andy, the problem is what I wrote is what I'm saying. So if someone's interviewing me, that's what I'm going to say, because that's what I remember. What you've written is different. So it's the prime example, like we spoke about earlier, about these things I hadn't found about meet, inspire, understand, connect. I did write something like that, but it's been changed a little bit. And actually, you know what? That's better. I like that. I'm going to use that. And and that's the thing. So it is a brilliant concept.
Yeah.
So I think letting go is probably the answer to your question.
Yes.
And trusting people.
Yes, I can imagine. Sort of, as you say, being an entrepreneur, it's hard you've had to drive the vehicle for quite a long time, haven't you, to get it to a point.
And that's it. And this is why I will come back to saying that having Tammy and Andy, and they're going to. I'm going to die after, because these are behind the scenes people. They're not in front of you, but they are people that actually you can't do an event before. It's like things like you have to have a fire risk assessment, which is logical, but you have to have a people management assessment, and you have to have a people management plan.
Yeah.
Right. If all of you turn up that's registered on the first day, all at the same time, that's a lot of people. That's not hundreds, it's thousands.
Yeah.
Right. And the problem is you've all got to get in the hall. How do we get you all in the hall? How do we deal with that bit? Well, what I do is I grab a scanner and I start scanning you all, because I'm going to scan you in, because we need to scan everyone in and scan people out to a point. So it's a very kind of interesting concept, and that's the thing. So you do have to kind of trust the people around you and go, right, okay, doing this for the best. And that's why they are, and that's the thing, you see, and that's what we are here to do. It is.
Yeah.
And it comes back down to that. But no, that's what I've had to learn.
Yeah, definitely. So I imagine your team has grown by a few.
No, it hasn't actually. No. The team has actually stayed near enough the same. So so we have taken on one person. We've taken on two people now to do little jobs to support the show, but they're not full time. Like we've taken on a PR and marketing consultant just to kind of help with that next level stuff. So it's kind of that. It's kind of the more not more about. It's not kind of like, it's not like the social media stuff. It's more about the overarching stuff, and they are an expert in that concept. We changed our sales manager because, of course, our previous sales manager had to leave. So that kind of happened. So that was a small change. And no, everyone else is the same. So we haven't really grown in that sense, because actually we it's not really the time to grow. Next year might be. And that's the thing, because the thing is the show's grown, definitely. We've got, I think we're now up to about 52 exhibitors. 55 exhibitors. So what you do is you do this thing called consolidation. So you get to a point where you go, actually, I think I'm going to do this much more. And that's why we know we're at 95%. We know we've got about 5 to 8% of space left to sell. We can sell more. So I can always sell more. But what I can't do is I can't take any more away.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's the problem. That's the thing, is you take stuff away, you're paying for stuff that you haven't sold, and that kind of isn't the right thing. So this is where it's a balancing act.
This is the kind of business balance.
This is the business side. It's the business side, but also when having people like your events operations and health and safety manager and your sales manager that have worked in events before and been in events all over the world, it's very beneficial.
Yes, most definitely. So normally I end the podcast with 3 rapid fire questions. However, you've already answered these, so we're not going to do that. But I thought I'd have some fun with one of them. Now,
go for it.
Again, rapid fire question from me. They do not need a rapid fire answer from yourself. So
that's good because you won't get one. You know that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So what I'm going to ask you now is, if an alien landed and you had to describe the Dyslexia Show to them, how would you do it?
It's the UK's national exhibition dedicated to dyslexia and neurodiversity, which is an educational condition that affects the way that you process information, like reading, writing, and spelling. There you go.
Well, that was quite a concise answer.
That's a very concise answer. The Dyslexia Show also supports education parents in the workplace. And it takes place the 24th and 25th of March at the NEC in Birmingham. But hey ho, that's it. I know that was quite good. The thing is, you say the word concise. I did the word concise. That's the thing. I know I didn't have to, but there you go.
Cool. Okay then. And before we sign off, I'm going to ask you just to quickly say, why should people come to the show, and where can people find you?
Okay, so you can find loads of information about the show. The show is part of that community. Just come along if you're in any one of them streams: education, parents, workplace, individual. Register for free. Of course, workplace you pay £99 for, but the other three you can register for free. It's £20 for sessions for education and individual. It's £10 for parents. If you've got a young person with you and they're coming to a seminar, they will be charged £5. As I said earlier, we have to pay for a chair. That's the thing. So it's that kind of concept. We're trying to make it as cost effective as possible. The event is all about awareness and getting involved in the field of dyslexia, understanding what is right for you. I used the word informed choice. If you understand what is there, you can inform your choices correctly. You can understand what is right for you. And you have to have understanding. The one thing I always say about my dyslexia, I understand my strengths, I understand my weaknesses, I understand my difficulties. And if you understand that, you can do that. And that's what the show is all about. It's bringing people together, having a community feel, and basically finding a resource, listening to a speaker, getting inspired, and kind of doing this concept that I love, like meet, be inspired, understand, and connect, and actually grow as an individual. So yeah, you can find out more about it, dyslexiashow.co.uk. It takes place on the 24th, 25th of March at the NEC in Birmingham. It opens at 9:30 on the 24th, closes at 5, and opens at 9:30 on the 25th, and closes at 4. It's both in Hall 8. It's on what they call the atrium side of the NEC. You do have to pay if you're coming by car. You have to pay for parking. Book it before the show. You book it 24 hours before the show, and it's cheaper if you book it on the day. It gets more expensive. And there is a web page on our visitor page. You can find more about that. And yeah, come along, sign up. Come and find that hectic person. He said, "I heard you on a podcast," and I go, "Which one?"
Which one?
Because I've done a few. And then you'll say, and then you'll go, "Ah." I'll go, "Well, you know that person who was interviewing me? He's standing over there. You know, the really tall one that's also on a stage as well." Because I don't know if Ben's told you that. I've gave you a platform as well.
God. A platform. This could be fun. Yeah.
That's fine. Right. I'm going to digress now. How tall are you, Matt?
So I'm 6'2" or 1.9 meters tall, depending on what your currency is.
Okay, so 1.9 meters, 1.9 meters. So the wall is 2.4 meters. The platform is another 30 centimeters off the wall. So you are going to be quite tall. You're not going to be above the wall, and that's the thing. So yeah, so I'm sorry, I give you a platform as well.
Oh, that's okay. As long as you've made the wall the right height behind me.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, every wall is 2.4. You see, this is the other concept. Walls can't go above 2.4 meters because then you have to get a structural engineer in.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Temporary build, you see. You're building stuff. It's
of course.
Building site. Like I have to wear steel toe caps.
Yeah.
When I'm build. High vis.
You almost sound excited about that.
They actually are really comfortable because they're only That's it. They were brand new and they were really comfortable. And I get to wear a really cool pink high vis because, of course, we've gone for the pinky purple color because that's because that's what I picked. And my high vis is that color.
It's all color coded.
Yeah, it's all color coded. I think it's color coded.
Yeah, it's got to be color coded.
Okay. Go on. And did you ask me how to find out about me? Is that the other thing? Is that what you said to me? I can't remember now. We've had a long conversation about height.
We haven't. I haven't, but that was going to be a thing. So you've added the detail of the Dyslexia Show. So Yeah, great for the Detailed Dyslexia Show. Where can people find you? Because you're quite active on social media.
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn as Arron Smith, so ARRAN Smith. You can also find me on Twitter at Arron Dyslexia, also on Facebook at Arron Dyslexia as well. So I have a Facebook page, Arron Dyslexia, who I've started this year. I've started a thing called Thought of the, and I've just put a dot because it's not thought of the day because I can't do it daily. And it's just a thought happens. I share a random picture. It's a stock picture because that's how I work, of a thought relating to something that's going on in life as a person with neurodiversity. So that's something that I started doing new.
Cool.
And yeah, but no, if you come into the Dyslexia Show, just wave at me and go, "Hi, Arron," and that I'm happy to have that. I'm happy to talk to people.
You won't be able to miss Arron. He'll be the one in the very lively patterned shirt.
Yes, I'm nothing yet. Yeah, I had to find a way to counteract the carpet, didn't I?
You did, yeah. You certainly succeeded that, and I heard you gave your cameraman a bit of a hard time with trying to get the camera to work with it.
I gave a lot of people a hard time with it. That's the thing. So no, but no, that's the thing. It's an event thing, and like I said, just the thing. You can also find all the. So it's Dyslexia Show UK on Twitter, Dyslexia Show Live on Facebook. Yes. It's the social channels for Dyslexia Show, but they are on the website. So dyslexiashow.co.uk, and you can register for free or £99 for workplace. And we'd always want to see people there. So more the merrier. Don't miss out. And I'll just put this one last plug in because you can then use it. Don't miss out on your seminars. Get your seminars booked within the next couple of weeks. So if that's the thing, so I said we're 6 weeks out now. I would expect that Matt's going to probably get this out probably in the next 4 weeks from the show, give or take. Yeah. So you've got 4 weeks. In the third week before the show, them seminars rocket, and I mean rocket. So get in earlier so you get what you want to go to because you don't want to miss out. Because unfortunately, we don't have the space to run them again. There is limited seats availability in every room, so get it, book in what you want to go to, and then we'll see you. We'll see there, and we'll see what we do. You'll hear the dates for next year.
Yeah,
and I'm going to mention one more thing, Matt, so you can put this in. So because I think this is really important. The Dyslexia Show can't run without a number of people. So our exhibitors and our staff, but of course, actually our sponsors.
Yeah.
And I am going to announce a sponsor on your show because you're going to be, because of when it was. So I'm delighted that again. So we've got Dyslexia Box as our workplace sponsor, TextHelp as our lead sponsor. I'm delighted that Microsoft are a lead sponsor again. So Microsoft will be at the show. We have Breeden School as our silver sponsor. Scanning Pens as our CPD sponsor, Nessie Learning as our bag sponsor, Sen Legal as our legal surgery sponsor, Moon Hall as our workshop sponsor, Invisible GIF as our keynote sponsor, Dyslexia Box as Innovation Theatre. We also then have Orcam, Send Books, Recite Me, Special Direct TTS, Send Group, and LGFL of all show supporters. And we have an amazing array of partners from the British Dyslexia Association, Helen Arkell Dyslexia Charity, Patos, Succeed with Dyslexia, Schools Mailing, Sensible Senko, Head Teach Chat, Sendcast, and Crested as our show partners.
That's a fair size list.
Well, the thing, to tell you the truth, Matt, I've had to read it off the website.
Yeah.
And two of them aren't on there, and I had to remember them, which I'm very impressed that I did.
Okay, well, that leaves me with just one thing to say, which is to thank you for taking the time to come on and talk to me.
Not a problem.
And I want to thank everybody else for taking the time to listen, and I will talk to you in the next episode. Goodbye for now.